Hello and welcome to Nithrania YouTube channel. You're watching another game preview video. My name is Branislav Berec, and in this preview we're going to take a look at the game called Principes from Leo Solovey. He also designed the game called Bretwalda, which is published by Phalanx Studio, and it should be delivered to backers later this year. Principes is also going to be crowdfunded, and the crowdfunding campaign starts on 20th of May 2025, and it's a game for 1 to 4 players, so it also has a solo mode. And it's set in the 13th century in the Kingdom of Poland, where the members of the royal family turned against each other, and we have 4 major principalities, 4 major areas in the Kingdom of Poland. And members of the family are fighting against each other, trying to conquer the kingdom for themselves and rule the entire kingdom themselves. Instead of living in a harmony, they again fight against each other. So you will take role of one of these branches of the royal family, and you will try to win this fight and unite the Poland again. The game board represents the map of the Kingdom of Poland. It is divided into 4 principalities, 4 major areas. Each principality is separated from the other with this thick line. We have Polonia Major, we have Masovia, Polonia Minor, and Silesia as the yellow player. The player order, Polonia Minor, Silesia, Polonia Major, and Masovia, is strictly set. This Principes token not only determines the first player in the game for each round, it is a very important concept of the game. Basically, the player at the end of the game holding this token will win the game, but there is another victory condition. I'll talk about that in a minute. The word Principes comes from the Latin word, and it literally means a prince. And in this historical medieval era of this divided Kingdom of Poland, it referred to a specific informal but most important ruler of the entire kingdom, someone who was not formally crowned, but informally he held supremacy over other rulers. So that's why the player holding this token at the end of the game will win the game. Each principality is further divided into smaller areas, divided by these thin lines, and the game takes place on all these light green areas, so including these 2 territories, Pomeranian territories, Eastern and Western territories. There are also these dark green areas along the edge of the board. These represent other nations like Germans, here we have Russians, Hungarians, Bohemians, here we have Prussians, that from time to time invaded the Poland area, did some damage and then went away. The game also comes with these Teutonic Knights and Mongol invaders, which may also come into play. And in the center of the map, we have these 2 territories, or these 2 lands, areas. They are neutral just because they changed the ruler so many times and so frequently in that era that assigning them to one specific principality wouldn't be correct. So that's why they start as neutral, but players can invade them, can take control of them, and gain income, taxes, and other bonuses from these lands. Then each player has 1 player board, so we have 4 player boards here. Then we have this position board with the player markers of each player and with 3 tracks. The first track represents the military and economic power of each player. You gain power by controlling cities with these gold symbols. So the more symbols you have, the higher on the track you are. The central track represents the people's favor of the nation, and the silver track represents the favor of the Catholic Church. You can gain the favor of people and church by playing cards or by building buildings. These are tilt yards, they give you the favor of people. These are churches and monasteries, abbeys, they give you the favor of the church. And when you reach the last position on all 3 tracks, position number 10, you can play the politics action and call the council. The council will coronate you as the King of Poland, and you win the game. However, that's not so easy to do, and therefore, at the end of the entire game, which lasts 6 rounds, divided into 3 periods, each period containing 2 rounds. At the end of the 6th round, if no one was able to claim themselves as the kingdom ruler or the king of Poland, the player having this Principes token will win the game. These 6 rounds span across approximately 100 years. You can see that the first round starts in 1202, the 6th round in 1282, so roughly 30 to 40 years for each period. And each of these rounds is performed in the same way. First of all, the player having the Principes token will determine whether the game will follow the clockwise or counterclockwise direction for that particular round. Then the new event card is flipped over. This deck contains 6 cards, 1 card for each round, and there are 2 cards for the first era, 2 cards for the second era or second period, and 2 cards for the third period. There are many cards in the game. There are additional cards for the first, second, third era, so the combination of historical event cards is almost countless. Each of these event cards will either have a one-time effect or the effect which lasts for the entire round, and it will also determine some special events indicated by these icons, which will take place at the very end of the round. Then, players will choose 3 actions from these 6 actions. They will use these tokens, and these tokens have the 6 colors available on your player board. You will secretly choose 3 of these actions, and you will place them in a specific order. You can place the remaining tokens next to your player board. Every round you have access to all 6 of these tokens, and then once all players are done, starting from the first player and continuing clockwise or counterclockwise, players will reveal their action tokens and perform actions. So the first player will reveal the first token. Here it refers to the progress action. So this player will perform the progress action. Then the next player, assuming we are going in a clockwise direction, reveals the first token and again performs the progress action. It could be any other action. And then continuing clockwise, which means this player would perform this one, then this player performs this action, and then coming back to the first player who reveals the second token, performs the second action, and so on and so forth, until all players perform all of their 3 actions. I'm going to explain all those 6 actions available in the game in just a minute, but let me finish with the round overview. At the end of each round, those events indicated by the icons on the event card will take place, and that's the end of the round, and the game proceeds to the next round. To finish the overview of the components, we have to talk about these princes, prince cards, and player units. Each player has a certain number of these prince cards. Usually you have one prince for the first period, then you can have 1 or 2 princes for the second period, and 1 or 2 princes for the third period. For each period, you choose one of them, and this prince has a special ability. Your current prince is represented on the game board with this miniature. You also have these footmen, and these are knights. The neutral units, these are called neighbors. These Mongol units and Teutonic knights are called invaders. They also have knights and footmen. And each player also has princes. These are some kind of diplomacy unit. I'll talk about it later in the video. And when you lose your prince in a battle, for example, then your current prince can be replaced by the new prince, either from the same era if you have, or the same period if you have it. If not, in the first period, your prince can be replaced by any of your available princes from the next period. These are still very young, they are very young of age, but they can formally step in. However, when you lose all your princes, when you lose all the cards, or if you are still in the first period and you lose your prince from the first period and you lose both in this case both princes from the second period. Your princes from the third period are actually not born yet. It means you lose all your princes and you are eliminated from the game. If you are in the second period, in that case you would have to lose all the princes from the second and the third period, which means you no longer have any prince card, and again you are eliminated from the game. So you have to be very careful and you have to protect your prince. It may happen, if you play recklessly, it may happen that you are eliminated from the game, and in that case the next round will be the last round of the game for everyone, which I really like, because even if you risk and you lose a battle and it means you are out of the game, you're not going to sit and watch other players play the game for another 3-4 rounds maybe. It will be just one round and you can potentially play another game again. So this is something I really like about the game. And finally, we have 3 decks of cards here. Here we have cards that are called neighbor cards. These cards are used to either move the neighbors or block the movement of those neighbors. I'll come to them later in the video. Here we have battle cards. These are used during battles. I'll talk about the battles as well. And here we have the court cards. Court cards can be played during various actions. It's always stated on the card which actions they relate to, and they give you some powerful bonuses and powerful special abilities, one-time abilities or permanent abilities. However, it's not easy to obtain these cards. They're quite rare, so you will not play plenty of them during the game. You will only have a few of them. So we have to make the best use of these cards. You have to use them in the best possible situations, which is another really nice decision-making factor in the game. So let's take a look at those 6 actions you have available. The first of them is the progress action. With this action, you can acquire these progress tiles, which represent technological advancements. In the first period, when you play the progress action, you can take 1 tile, any 1 tile. In the second period, when you take this action, you can take 2 tiles. And in the third period, 3 tiles with 1 action. Each player has a space for 12 different progress tiles. You can have 2 of the same color. And choosing the right progress tile at the right moment can be very beneficial for the further development of your part of the kingdom and for your branch of the royal family. So, continuing with the tax action, you get 1 coin for each of these symbols on the lands you control, which is the primary way how to gain money, and you need money for building, but also for assembly. Assembly is an action which allows you to recruit units from your personal supply. You have limited number of these units. You can only recruit footmen and knights. Recruiting the footmen is for free. Recruiting knights costs 1 gold. Recruited units are either placed in your capital or in the land in an area with your prince. Then the next action is the movement action, and movement allows each of your unit on the map to move either 2 territories for footmen or 3 territories for each of your knights or your prince. And I have to say, I really like these rules. Very simple, very easy rules. You can cross 2 borders, any 2 borders with your footmen, or up to 3 borders with your knights, including the prince as your knight. I like this. No limits. You can combine the units. You can split the units. Basically, every single unit can move either 2 or 3 territories. Very simple. When you enter the territory with enemy units, the battle will occur. There are 2 remaining actions. One of them is building. With the building, you can found 1 city and build up to 2 buildings. By founding a city, you increase the gold production of that city. However, the cost is the new gold production of that new city. So in this case, founding this city would cost you 3 gold. However, when you do the tax action, it produces 3 gold instead of 2. This way you can upgrade basically every single city, every single town on the map. those lands which have a name, have a specific symbol, have a specific token for upgrading to a city. These small lands, which actually also have some name, don't have any specific token, they have these generic tokens, but again you can also upgrade these to a city as well. Then in addition to founding a city, you can also build up to 2 buildings. You can build 3 types of buildings. Castles provide additional defense during battles. Tilt yards give you additional people favors points, and abbeys give you the Catholic Church favor points. And finally, with the politics action, you draw 3 battle cards and neighbor cards in any combination. Finally, with the politics action, you take 3 court and neighbor cards in any combination, which means you can take 3 neighbor cards or 2 neighbor cards, 1 courtyard, that's up to you, and from those 3 cards you choose 2 to keep. Or instead of taking these cards, you can call a council. But first, let's talk about those cards. These are neighbor cards, these are court cards. Court cards now have a specific text and they are played during a specific action. Here, this is played before your politics action. There are other court cards. This one is played at the end of the period. For example, here we have during the movement action, this one during the taxes action, and so on. Each court card, and also each neighbor card, and also each battle card can be played for gold. I mean, you can discard the card without any effect and simply gain a gold, or 1 point of people support or clergy support. Some cards give you a choice. Some cards only give you a specific point of support. So in this case, it's just a people support, which means you simply discard the card to the bottom of the corresponding deck. You don't resolve any text on it. You can do this at any time during the game and simply gain a support point or you gain a gold. So the court cards, once played, you place them back to the bottom of the deck, face down, and there's no discard pile. And these are neighbor cards. All the neighbor cards can only be played before your politics action. And these neighbor cards allow you to either move or block the movement of the specific neighbor. In this case, German marches. So here we have the German marches. When they move, they use the same rules for movement, which means knights can move up to 3 territories or lands. Footmen can move up to 2 lands. They use the same battle rules. They can invade these territories, destroy the buildings, and so on. So you can either play the card to move those units, or if someone else plays the card to move those units, you can play this card to block the unit. This iconography indicates that you can block the movement of 1 knight and 1 footman. If someone plays this card, it costs 2 gold, but they can move both knights and both footmen. If you play this one, in that case, one of these knights and one of the footmen will be blocked and they will not move. The person who plays the card to move the units then decides where these units will move, which lands they will invade, and where the battles will be initiated. Now, when you play the politics action, instead of drawing the cards, you can summon the council. When you summon the castle, there are 2 options you can do. First, if all your markers are in the last position, so on number 10 on all the tracks, you coronate yourself as the new King of Poland and you immediately win the game. If that's not the case, if you are highest on at least 2 tracks, or if you tie for the first position, then instead of coronating yourself as the king, you can take the Principe token, the first player token, from anywhere, from anyone who has it at the moment. If you have it right now, you simply keep it. The player order doesn't change for the remainder of the round, but you keep that token. And remember, at the end of the game, at the end of the 6th round, if the game continues for all 6 rounds, the player holding that Principe token at the end of the 6th round wins the game. So that's it. Those are all the 6 sections in the game. Let's take a quick look at battles. Battles are very easy to resolve. Battles are actually very easy to resolve because each footman involved in a battle has 1 hit point and deals 1 point of damage. Each knight, including the prince, has 2 hit points and deals 2 damage points. However, the first step of the battle is playing the battle cards, which have this keyword before the battle. So you may play these cards for the effect, or as I said earlier, you can discard the card for the gold symbol, or later we will see you can use it as the indicated symbol here. So first the attacker plays any number of these cards, then the defender plays any number of these cards. Then the attacker rolls this battle dice for the attacker, the defender rolls the defending die, and then you sum up all the swords, which are damage points. As I said, each footman deals 1 damage, each knight 2 damage points, which means the defending player does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. The attacking player here 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of damage. However, defending player always has some advantage. In case the battle is taking place in the area without the city, you can see this small gray dot here. That indicates that the defending player automatically has 1 shield, which blocks 1 sword, 1 point of damage. If there's a city in the area, the city has 2 small dots. In that case, turn this token on the other side, and the defending player automatically has 2 defending shields, 2 shields which will prevent the hits from 2 swords. If there is a castle in the area, the castle adds additional 2 shields. By the way, if you roll this gold symbol, it means you take 1 gold coin from the opponent. Now, when assigning the damage, you have to assign the damage to the footman first, then to knights, and only then to the princes. The attacking player dealt 6 points of damage minus 3 shields. That's 3 points of damage, which means 1 footman and also the prince, that's 1 hit point and 2 hit points, they all would be destroyed in the battle. The same applies to the attacking player because they have to absorb 5 points of damage. And now you can play additional battle cards which have to be played after the battle. Again, you can play it and resolve the text on the card, or you can add additional symbols. In this case, the attacking player doesn't have to add any additional symbols. You can add a sword symbol here, another point of damage. And after the attacking player plays the cards, then the defending player may play the cards. And in this case, if the defending player would play the card with the shield symbol, you add the shield to all other shields you have available, and this means that you prevent another point of damage, and in that case we had 6 minus 4, that would be only 2 points of damage. 1 point of damage is dealt to the footman, and the footman is destroyed. And there's only 1 point of damage remaining, so the prince survives. However, he needs to be assigned the wound token. And since there are no other cards that can be played, the defending player wins the battle. All the destroyed units are returned back to the player's reserves. All the wounded units are immediately healed. And you can return the dice and this token to the common supply area. Now, both players participating in the battle can draw 1 battle card. Basically, that's the only way how to draw the battle card. And the player who won the battle gains 1 point of the people support. Player who lost the battle loses 1 point. There are a few other small minor rules, but this is not meant to be a tutorial video, so I'm not going to mention everything. Obviously, if the attacking player wins the battle, they have a chance to destroy the buildings there, which loses them some favor points. But the number of these buildings is limited, so if there are no buildings available and you want to build them in your principality, in your area, and you destroy these buildings in the opponent's area, you can then build them later in your area. So that's one of the reasons why you would do that. And overall, although the rule book, I have to say the rule book is pretty thick, and it seems like there are many rules in the game. Actually, after reading all the rules, I have to say it's not that complicated, because those 6 actions are fairly easy to understand. You can take a technology tile, very easy. You can tax, which means you gain some money. You recruit units, you move them, which triggers the battle. Battle rules are also not very difficult, because in addition to the units, you just play some cards and you roll a die, and that's it. Then you can build some buildings, which cost some gold and gives you some benefits. And then you play the politics action, which is either drawing the cards or calling the council and either claiming the Principes token or claiming the victory. Those are all the 6 actions in the game. That's pretty much it. Additional rules on top of that are not that difficult to understand. They are quite intuitive. There's one thing that we haven't talked about yet, and those are princesses. Let me talk about those now, and then I'll talk about my impressions shortly. Each player has one princess, and this princess is assigned to a mission at the start of every period. So at the start of the first, second, and also the third period, you have 3 options. You can either send that princess to an area of another player, let's say to this area, and with that, you basically indicate that your princess has married the king of this principality, and you are protected from the invasion from that player. That player is not allowed to invade your area or any other land. For example, if you control here, any other land that you control. So you are allies and this player cannot attack you. Or you can send your princess to your own capital and you can draw additional court cards and neighbor cards, or you can send your princess to the capital of another player to sabotage that player, and that player has to discard one of those cards. Finally, what we have not mentioned yet are these Teutonic Knights and the Mongols. There are some events here on these event cards. Some of them will cause these units to invade the map. The player who has the Principes token will determine where and how they will invade the country, and players will have to deal with them, and after the invasion they will go away. There are other events here. Sometimes you will be able to build another city, sometimes you will have to dismiss some of the units, and so on and so forth. There are several of these types of events. They always happen at the end of the round. So when you flip the history card, then you see which events will happen at the end of the round, and you have a chance to prepare for that. So that's pretty much it. It's quite a lot. However, in fact, what I like about the game is that it's really very thematic. I have to say, Leo did a fantastic job in terms of the historical research, and he knows a lot about that history. And you can see so many historical terms and thematic connections, all the neighboring countries, all the invaders and invading nations there. And it's very thematic. Those 6 actions are easy to understand. You need money, you need to recruit units, you need to move with them, you battle with them, you do some development, so you advance your civilization, you have some scientific research, and you improve your actions. You can build buildings, and you do some political actions, and that's pretty much it. You try to increase you try to move on this position board, so you try to get to the top. You don't have to fight, you don't have to win battles to win this game. This is not really a war game, invading others. You can easily win by not having one single fight in the game. If other players allow you to let you do and win the game this way, you can simply build your own territory, develop your own principality, and increase your income, build churches, build abbeys, build these tilt yards, play some cards, and suddenly you call a council and, hey guys, I won the game. Or you simply keep the principality, the Principes token. You can invade. Instead of building, you can simply invade the territories of other players. You can seize the control of their land, seize control of their cities. So instead of building your own one, you simply You simply conquer the territory and buildings of other players. You don't have to destroy them, you simply conquer them. So that's another way how to do it. You can focus on politics, you can focus on the technology tile, the progress tiles, and you don't win the game in the first, second, third round. So it is very wise to build up your civilization. You don't have to be afraid too much if you are behind at the beginning of the game. It is very important to build up your civilization, to build up the foundations, and then you can actually win the game in the later phases of the game, I mean in later rounds, just by having the good foundation, having your actions stronger than other players, and you can quickly overtake them. However, the closer you are to the victory, the bigger you become the target for other players. Especially in a 4-player game, you can have all 3 players suddenly at your border, and then it's very, very important how you use your princes. That's another good point. There are so many ways how to play this game, so many strategies you can apply. And every game plays differently. The historical events are different every time you play. The combination of these events is different. The combination of these invaders coming in is different. Obviously, you have other players trying to use those neighbors, to manipulate those neighbors to invade your territory. Then it's good to have the cards blocking that movement. It is highly, highly interactive. As any other war game, area control game, you name it, this is highly interactive. Yes, the interactive is not always positive. It's usually negative interaction coming into battles, but you don't have loads of units here. You only have a few of them, and it's not easy, and it's not cheap to build these units. And sometimes you have to think about whether you want to invade other territories or you need to protect your own territories from those neighbors surrounding. So lots of decisions to make every single round. Even the action, you have 6 action tokens available, so you have 6 actions available, and you can perform each action only once per round. So which actions do you take? In which particular order? All these things, those are all the decisions you make in this game. Which actions, in which order, why? Great. I'm really surprised. I was going to say with the simple rules, but those rules are not very simple. The rule book is quite thick, but the rule book covers many interactions and rules which may not, or situations which may not happen all the time in the game. But the fundamental 6 actions and few other overhead rules, it's really not that difficult. You play 1 round, 2 rounds, and it clicks in, and then it's almost. I didn't have to go into the rulebook, maybe to look up how exactly the invasion is happening, but I didn't have to go into the rulebook to search for basic standard rules, what you are allowed to do, what not. So it was easy to get going, and I'm not a big fan of political war games where, especially like I used to love Twilight Struggle until I became a target for other players almost every single game. But you have to use some communication here. You have to. You can use money. You can bribe other players. Although the agreements are not binding here, but you can play some political games, and you can use these neighbors. That's why I like these neighbor cards, if you have them, and if you know that you can create some threat for the other player from the other side of the map, so that they don't attack you. They need to protect their piece of land. That's a great way how to draw attention away from you, and I've seen that players don't really want to get very close to the victory because they become the target of other players. So you can stay back. You can say, well, I'm not a threat. I'm not a threat. Build up your civilization, and then really become a big threat in a 5th round, 6th round, and win the game by surprise, or even if not by surprise, then winning the game easier because the fights and wars and conflicts are happening elsewhere, and you're pretty much safe because you're not a threat. But by having very powerful actions towards the end of the game, you can become a threat. And even if you don't coronate yourself, you can still gain that Principes token and win the game. However, you get the Principes token if you are the first on at least 2 tracks. And you can have 2 people being highest on 2 tracks because they can be tied on one of the tracks, and one of them is highest on one track and the other one on the other track. And if you claim the Principes token, the other player going after you can still play the politics action and claim that Principes token for themselves. So this is another thing that you need to keep in mind when you play that politics action. And that's why during the politics action, other people can play their neighbor cards and court cards for these symbols to increase their position on those tracks and to prevent other players to claim that Principes token. Lots of decisions in the game. I'm very surprised, and thumbs up for Leo. I hope he will come up with more of these kind of games, but this one, he's publishing it on his own. It's definitely not easy to do at these times, but I wish he really has a great success with this game because I like the game. And in terms of graphical design, if you remember Bretwalda, I like that types of graphics. It was a little too busy for me in the Bretwalda game. Maybe the graphics design has changed. I haven't seen the final product yet, but this one seems more polished. It is easy to read. The map is easy to read. The situation on the map is easy to understand. And it's definitely a step, at least one step, maybe 2 or 3 steps forward from Bretwalda. And I like this graphics design. I like this style here. So overall, I'm really happy. So that's my impression of this game. Principes. These Latin words are slightly different. This actually means prince, the plural of prince, so princes, because it is about 4 princes of this royal family in Poland, and really well implemented theme, well implemented game mechanics. There is nothing crazy, nothing that would, in my opinion, somehow break the game or make the game complicated. The only thing that is maybe a little too much is like if you have those princes, each prince has a special ability. Each principality has a special ability, which means every single player has a special ability. If you look at each of those principes, they have something, but it's not major. For example, the yellow player has additional gold. The white player, they can re-roll the battle die. So nothing big, nothing that will break the game, but it is enough to make these factions slightly different and focus on something else. This is a game for 1 to 4 players. It can be played as a 2-player game, 3-player game. In that case, the factions which are not controlled by players have all the additional units on the map. They act as the neutral units, and in neutral units, the battles basically work the same. Just the neutral units don't play any battle cards. They don't have any. Otherwise, it works in the same way. The neutral units also roll the battle die. In a 3-player game, there's just one faction which has all the units on the map and acts as the neutral unit. Solo rules are work in progress. I haven't seen them yet. But I think the more players you have in this game, the more fun you have. I think it will shine in a 3 and a 4-player game. So that's it. That's Principes from Leo Solovier, coming to crowdfunding campaign on 20th of May. I wish the game all the best. I really like the game, and I wish the game will have a successful campaign. Until then, thank you very much for watching. You've been watching the preview for Principes game from Leo Soloviev, published by Leo Soloviev himself as a crowdfunding campaign. My name is Branislav Berec, and hope to see you next time.